A telescoping lightsaber is a lightsaber with blade sections that extend out of the hilt, one section sliding out from another until the full blade length is reached. So here are two examples of some lightsabers with telescoping blades. And you'll notice that pretty much all of the lightsabers with telescoping blades are currently toys, and there are probably several reasons for that. One is they aren't necessarily that durable, so especially if an adult wants to do kind of some full contact dueling, having these different sections coming out of the hilt, it's not really that sturdy. And, even with the toys, sometimes people will eventually kind of break the telescoping sections so that break the blade that way. And especially with some of the more kind of cheaply made telescoping lightsabers. So, for example, Ruby's Costume Co. makes some telescoping lightsabers that are costume accessories, and they're not toys. And, these are more cheaply made. They're not intended for play, but, they're lightsabers, so sometimes kids will play with them. And, then sometimes the sections will break, particularly on those like kind of more cheaply made lightsabers. But that's one reason you won't see it with higher end custom lightsabers or Force FX lightsabers. Another reason is probably just kind of the appearance of the sections extending out of the hilt. It's very uneven. As you have each section extending out, you get this kind of jagged look to the blade rather than kind of a smooth, uniform blade. So those are probably a few reasons you see these in toys rather than, with custom lightsabers and things designed for more rigorous dueling. But, the technology may change. Maybe we'll get some more telescoping lightsabers, with custom lightsabers or with Force FX lightsabers or officially licensed lightsabers in the future. But what is neat about this effect, this kind of telescoping effect, is it imitates how actual lightsaber blades extend out of the hilt. So, that's how lightsabers are different from swords. So the blade actually extends out of the hilt when you activate it. And it's pretty neat. This is a relatively low-tech, easy way to get that kind of extension effect. And oftentimes you'll get it, you'll flick your wrist to get the blade on the telescoping lightsaber to extend. Although there are, a few other technologies like the force action lightsabers, for example, they're spring-loaded. And so you just press a button and the blade extends. But for the most part, these telescoping blades come out when you flick your wrist to extend the blade out. Now, of course, that does mean in most cases you end up putting the blade away with your hand, which that isn't really realistic. You wouldn't do that with a real lightsaber, right? But, that's kind of how it is. It's relatively low tech, but, pretty easy, for the toy makers to do. So that's, a lot about the telescoping lightsabers as toys. And, another telescoping lightsaber I have to talk about is the ones we'll see with action figures. So the telescoping lightsabers originated with action figures, way back with the original Star Wars movies. So some of the vintage Kenner Star Wars action figures use telescoping lightsaber blades. And how it works, this one obviously isn't vintage, but you have this kind of lightsaber blade that goes up the arm of the figure, and you press this little lever, and the blade extends out. So that's kind of how it worked with vintage figures. And you have some kind of retro or throwback figures that Hasbro made a bit later, and that's kind of referencing these original vintage figures. And some of the most rare Star Wars action figures use telescoping lightsabers, so they use a double telescoping lightsaber where it has two sections that come out instead of just one, like the one I have here. Those are just some of the most rare, hard to find Star Wars action figures out there, and they'll sell for like thousands of dollars depending on the condition. But those are called double telescoping lightsaber action figures. So, this does kind of dip into the action figure realm as well, but you do also have the telescoping lightsaber toys like this where the blade extends out. So I guess the final thought is this is a form of an extendable lightsaber or a retractable lightsaber. This is just kind of a more specific version of that. So that's been kind of a quick look at the telescoping lightsaber. Feel free to comment below.